Hi everyone, Emily here. I hope everybody had a great holiday. I am using my yarn that my daughter gave me for my birthday. I've been saving it until now because I was working on Christmas presents. So this is going to be for beginners. I'm going to try to go nice and slow so that you can see how to use this yarn. So I'm going to just wrap it around my finger. You can see I did a little crisscross, take the front one over the back, and there I have a slip knot. You could tie it if it makes it easier for you. You could practice it a few times. I am using an 8.00 hook, and that is because that is what this yarn called for. So now we are going to go ahead and start a chain. I put my yarn on top of my 3 fingers, wrap it around my 4-finger, and I use my middle finger and my thumb to hold the yarn that I'm working with, and I use my 4-finger on my right hand that I'm holding the hook with. I use that to control the loops on my hook. So now we're going to wrap around and we're going to pull it through, and that is a chain. So you just grab it and pull it through. You can see that I move my thumb up every time I make a chain. I think that will help you to control your yarn. And as I'm pulling the yarn through, I move my 4-finger of my right hand onto the loop that's on my crochet hook. This is how I control my yarn. You can see and count your stitches. They look like little hearts. Now I'm going to make this chain as wide as I want my project to be. You can make this as long as you want to be your length or your width. And as you can see, I'm just pulling it through, and I'm not making it tight because you do have to go back into those stitches. I'm slowly just pulling it through. So I wrap my yarn around it. I turn the head of my hook so that it will go through easily. And I just keep moving my hand up, my fingers up, and make sure that you have a lot of yarn loosely, because if it starts getting tight, the tension will make your stitches tighter. Now this is for beginners. I hope this helps beginners with their chain. And then we are going to do the moss stitch today, so we will be doing a repeat pattern for this blanket. So the stitch right there that your yarn is coming out of, that is not your first stitch. The one next to it will always be your first stitch. Okay, so we're just going to continue to make this chain as long as you want. Don't worry about how many you're chaining. Let's just go ahead and concentrate on either the width or the length, and just keep moving your fingers up, pulling your yarn through. Move your fingers up, and that helps me keep my stitches all the same. So you can practice your chain for as much as you want to so that you get a good feel for your yarn. And I'm just going to continue to chain mine for as wide as I want my project. You can do yours length or wide, however you want to. So you can see I'm pulling it through, and I'm trying not to pull it too tight. I'm just taking it through, putting my thumb there, moving up, and pulling it through. And everyone has their own way of crocheting, of course. Hold their needles different. I just like to move my thumb up and keep control, and I think that's how I keep all my stitches the same. I think this is working out beautiful. These anniversary cakes are huge, and this stitch is a very good yarn saver. So you can see your stitches here. You can count them if you'd like. I have 100 and, no, I don't have 100. I have 63. Now this yarn is really thick and chunky, and that's probably why I don't have to have as many stitches if you use like red heart yarn. Mine is just big enough to fit on my chair. So they look like little hearts. You're only going to be going through one strand, which is the top of the chain. So the one where the yarn is coming through, that is not counted as a stitch because your yarn's coming through it. So you're going to go into the next one. You're only going to go, I'm sorry, not the next one, the one next to it. And you're only going to go under one strand. So we skipped a stitch, went to the next one, pull your yarn through, and you have 2 strands on your hook. Grab the yarn and take it through both loops. That is your first single crochet. Now we're going to chain 1, and this is going to be our pattern for our blanket. We're going to do a single crochet, we're going to chain 1, we're going to skip the next stitch, and we're going to go into the next one, go underneath one strand on the top of that chain, grab your yarn and bring it through. Use your thumb to control that yarn. We have 2 strands, grab the yarn and bring it through. And I always like to chain 1 right away afterwards so that I don't forget that chain 1. It's going to make a beautiful pattern. So you can see the openings, and that is where you are going to put your stitch for the next round. So skip your next stitch, go into the next one. We're going to go under one strand only. Grab your yarn, pull it through. You have 2 strands on your hook. Grab your yarn and bring it through. Put your thumb up there on that stitch to control it. Chain 1. We're going to skip the next stitch, go to the next one. Go under one strand. We're not going to turn that chain either. We're going to try to keep it straight. You have 2 strands. Take your yarn through, and we're going to chain 1. If I don't chain that one right away, I will forget. So we're going to skip the next one, go to the one after that. We're going to do this all the way to the end. We're going to go under one strand, and you're going to pull your yarn through and chain 1. I love all these colors. I can use multiple colors, and it just looks beautiful. So I'm going to let you watch me do this so you can get the hang of it and practice. And then we will do the next row, which will be a repeat row for the whole blanket. Now when I make this, you know, to where it goes to my top of my toes, to my chest, I'm going to stop and I'm going to start going around it, and I'm going to show you that. And I'm going to go around it, which is going to give me a nice border. And I like the look of having a nice border, nice thick border. So go ahead and just keep doing this pattern till you get to the end. So we're here at the end. And we're just going to skip one, go into the next one, just like we have been doing. I just happened, because I did not count my stitches, to come out to where I skipped one, and I have the very last one. If you have a stitch left, don't worry about it. We'll bury it later. You won't even notice it. So we're at the end, and I am going to use stitch markers. We're going to chain one, and we are going to put a stitch marker right there where we did that chain one. You're going to turn, and you can see right there right away that there is an opening, and that's where we're going to be going into. I'm going to use an earring for stitch marker, so I'm putting it right there in my chain one spot, so that I know when I come back that is going to be the last stitch that I'm going to go into. You can use different things. You can use yarn as a stitch marker, but I use earrings. So you can see your first opening right there. Pull it apart where you did your chain one. That's going to be right where you're going to go into. You're going to go right into that opening. I'm going to grab my yarn and bring it through. And I have 2 loops. I'm going to pull through 2 and chain 1. Now I'm going to look for my next opening, and you can see the openings really clear. Just pull it apart a little bit, you'll have no problem seeing them. And this is going to be your repeat row, where you're going to go into that chain 1 from the previous round, and you're going to pull your yarn through. You have 2 loops, pull it through both of them, and chain 1. If I don't chain my 1 like I said right away, I will forget to do it. So I like to do it right away after I do my single crochet. Now I do have videos if you'd like to go through my videos towards the beginning, where I have beginners to show you how to do the chain. Another one, how to do the single crochet, which is what you're doing now, and double crochets, the stitches. But this is for beginners for the moss stitch here. I think people that maybe have crocheted a little bit but they're still really new, this video will really help you. And this stitch is a yarn saver. There is some stitches that take a lot of yarn, and then there's some that don't use very much yarn, and I find this stitch does not use as much yarn. And I've done other videos on the moss stitch. I gotta tell you, it is my favorite, but I figured since I was doing this project I would do another video on it with this beautiful new color, because there might be people who haven't seen it. So just go in those openings where you did the single crochet from the last round. And this is going to be our repeat row for the rest of our blanket. Now we're going to go all the way to the end here, and we are going to need another stitch marker. So we will be using the stitch marker for the entire blanket, which is going to keep our ends nice and straight. I am planning on putting a border on this blanket. Now 63 stitches, or I'm sorry, single crochets doesn't seem like a lot of stitches, but this yarn is very thick and bulky, works up very fast. So what I did is I put it across my chair. That is what I consider a lap blanket, a lap throw, and then I will put a nice thick border around it. So I can make this into a baby blanket. It would be perfect size for a baby blanket. Or I can keep going and make it the length of a grown-up or a child's body for a nice throw. if you only wanted to do a few stitches, this would make a really nice scarf. You can make a hat with this. It'd be nice and chunky. There's just so much you could do with this yarn. But today we are just going to work on this throw blanket. Here at the end, so you can see where you had your chain one at the very end. I like to try to go under 2 strands of yarn to make that end strong. I'm going to finish that single crochet and chain 1. Now I'm going to get my other marker, which I use an earring. Finally worked great, and I'm going to put it right into that chain, so I know that's my last stitch. That will be the last stitch I go into when I come back. So I'm going to turn my work, look for my opening, and it's right there. It's really close. So I'm just going to go ahead and go in, pull my yarn up, pull my yarn through both loops and chain 1, and we're going to look for the next opening. So that is our repeat row, and we're just going to do that until your project is as long as you want it to be. And you can just put your fingers there, and the farther you get, the easier it's going to see right where your opening is. But just be careful that you always have that V right there, because you'll know that's where your stitch is. You never want to go in between a V. This is working out really nicely. Now see what I did there? I went into a V. So I'm really glad I got that. Just got to pull it out. Take a better look. Make sure you go on the other side of the V. So here, it's harder to see where the V is because I did not put that single crochet in between those two. So you can see really where it's really tight. So I'm just going to go into that opening, and I'm going to do my single crochet and chain 1. You won't be able to tell in your pattern, but that's why it's really important that you pull it apart and that you watch where the V's are while you're crocheting. Nobody's perfect. So you can see that V. I'm going to go right in between it, the 2 V's. Never go in between the V's. We're going to go in between the 2 V's where you chained 1. And sometimes with this variegated yarn, it might be a little bit harder to see that. With the solid color, it might be a little bit easier. So make sure that you pull that yarn out of your ball, because you don't want to have a lot of tension or it will make your stitches tighter. And you don't want that. You want your stitches to all kind of stay the same tension. It's very pretty. And this stitch, even though you are chaining 1 and skipping a stitch, you're going back into it, so it's not leaving holes in the blanket. It's really nice and thick and closed. So it's a very warm stitch and it's nice and thick. So just keep on working to the end. We're here at the end, and you can see where my stitch marker is. I try to go underneath 2 strands to make it strong at the end, and I'm going to do my single crochet, and I'm going to take my marker off. I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to stick it right there in that chain 1. So I know when I come back here, that's going to be my last stitch. Turn my work. I'm going to look for my very first opening by pulling it apart a little bit. And there it is, right there, right away. It's right there. So I'm going to go ahead and do my single crochet, pull it through, pull my yarn through, and chain 1. Now I can look for my next opening. And now you can see it might be a little bit easier to see those V's. See the V's there? So you know you're going to go in between them. So you want to go in between them, not into the V. And now the project is going to
my
start
blanket
really
is about
quick.
5 foot 4
And
inches.
I always
long
love to see
when I
how the
stand up
pattern of
next
the
to
yarn
it.
is going to come out.
I think I still have quite a bit of yarn left, so I'm going to go ahead and start going around and doing my border. I love this confetti look. It's absolutely beautiful. I have it folded in half. You can see my sides are very straight. I think my sides came out really well. Still using my stitch markers down here on the bottom, but I'm just really happy with this. It's beautiful. Here is my corner where I have my stitch marker, and I was going back and forth this way. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and start going down this way to do my border. And I'm going to get rid of this stitch marker. Now the corners, of course, we're going to want to put more stitches there so that it doesn't start curling up. So I already chained one, you can see here. And I'm going to pull it apart, and I'm going to go right back into the same stitch, and I'm going to do me another single crochet, and we're going to do another one in there. So we're just going to go into that same opening. We're going to go in and we're going to pull it through, grab our yarn and take it through 2 more. I'm going to chain 1, and I want to do my moss stitch all the way around. So of course that means we're going to skip 1 and we're going to go into the next one, and we're just going to go right under, and it looks like I have a lot of stitches there that I'm going under. I'm going to chain 1, I'm going to skip the next one, I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to go right into it. So I'm going under both of the stitches. I'm going to chain 1, skip 1, and go into the next one. So you can see here it's just the same as when you're working on the blanket.
And with this confetti, skip one and go into the next one. With this confetti, I think this is just going to look really pretty. I don't even think you might not even be able to tell. Skip that one and go into the next one. You can go all the way under. Excuse me. So you're going under more like 4 instead of just 2 strands. Skip one, go into the next one. And just keep doing this all the way down. Nice tight stitch. And like I said, it's a yarn saver. And it's really simple. But when you look at it, you're just like, wow, someone made this. It's gorgeous. So just keep on going till you get to a corner. Alrighty, I've been working on this blanket for like a week now. You can see here is where I went back and forth, and then I added and then I start going around it. So when I did my stitches and I did the length and it was down at my feet, went under my chin, I started going around it with the second ball of yarn. So this is the huge Caron Anniversary cakes. It's gorgeous. When I did this back and forth, make sure it was long enough, then I started going around. And before I reach the end of that skein, I'm going to stop. You can see how many times I went around the whole blanket. It made it a lot larger, so it's a perfect size for me for my chair. I was going to go around it with a different color, but I think I'm going to use it for something else because this is just beautiful the way it is. I'm really happy, and I'm afraid if I put the other color on, it's just going to make it gaudy. And that's my New Year's resolution, is to make things that are not as gaudy. I want to have more colored uniform things, and this yarn is just absolutely beautiful. Just so happy with it. Look at all the colors. It just seems like the color changes in the light. It's just beautiful. So I'm really happy with it, and I just wanted to share it with you. So when I come to a corner here, because I did the moss stitch, of course, back and forth, and then I did do the moss stitch going around, and in each corner, all I did was I went into the corner and I did 1 single crochet, chained 1 single crochet in the same stitch, chained 1, and I just kept doing the moss stitch, and I went all the way around. So now that I'm at a corner, I'm just going to go right in there, do a slip stitch. I'm going to tie it off. So I'm really happy with it. I love it. It's colorful without being gaudy. And, you know, I do believe everybody should just do their own thing, but this is me wanting to do projects for my family, for my kids, and my grandkids that aren't as crazy. So, that will be a challenge for me. I'm just going to go ahead and bury this, and I think I might make a hat or a scarf out of the rest of that I have. But this blanket is perfect for me. It is really, really big. And you can see here how after I started going around it, right here, I start going around, how perfect they came out. I love this moss stitch, so you could really do a lot with this stitch. So I hope you will give this a try. Just wanted to share this with you. Quick video. I hope everyone's happy and healthy and having a great day. I'm in love with my blanket. I think I'm just going to put my little ends in, and I'm going to snuggle up with it. It is very, very thick. Well, thank you for watching. Have a great day, and I'll be back soon. Bye.